First 2 locations secured.
Yep.
One high school, 1,200 students and staff. One middle school, 850 students and staff. No vending machine competition at either school.
That's my client, Nick. I'm Ryan, and that's my dog, Wrigley. Vending isn't supposed to be this easy, or is it? Can't get into high traffic locations with your first go. Nick did, and all of my clients do. All we do is high traffic vending machine locations. I build 6-figure healthy vending machine businesses in 90 days, so successful professionals can quit their job. Perhaps you're here for the story, perhaps you're here for more. Either way, here's Nick's.
Big day. First 2 high foot traffic vending locations secured because it's the only thing that we do. So first off, congratulations.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm pumped. Big day.
I'm curious, why did you choose Vending Accelerator and what were you looking at before Vending Accelerator?
Yeah, so before Vending Accelerator, I've always had an entrepreneurial itch, want to kind of start something of my own. I did start to look into, was it HealthyYou? Just to see like kind of what was out there.
Yeah, HealthyYou Vending.
Talking to people over there, honestly, it sounded too easy and too good to be true, which most of those things are. And every review that I read after speaking to somebody over there, it was, you just started hearing the horror stories. So I kind of backed off of that. I'm like, okay, well, there has to be other programs or other people who are building a vending business out there. I actually came across a video, funny enough, looking for more bad reviews on HealthyYou. And I found you talking to one of your early clients who was in a similar situation, but unfortunately did invest in them, and he came over to you, quickly got some machines in place, and then after you and I got a chance to speak, I liked the fact that Vending Accelerator was like the program was built out. It makes 100% sense. Schools love it. I love the fact that it was like, okay, here's all the tools that you need, just go do it, and that's what I'm good at. So
with Vending Accelerator, we laid it out for you. Getting vending locations is the hardest aspect of this business. Getting high traffic vending machine locations makes it even more difficult. Now, I talk about this often, is that you don't need sales experience to come in here, but you have a ton. So talk about your background a little bit.
I've been in medical device and dental sales for a long time. I was in financial sales for a little bit, but I've managed territories that are a couple states wide. But again, I just had the entrepreneurial itch, so I wanted to start something on my own.
Have you owned a business at all before this?
No, this was the first one. I've thought about different avenues. This is the first one I've actually sunk my teeth into. From a goal perspective, I would love for this to be able to supplement my current income and create this as a full-time business.
Yeah, so that's not even supplementing that. You want to replace your income.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then we have a process. You follow it. If you follow it, it'll work, which is very simple. Follow the process. Use the exact tools, the 6-figure Location Brochure Collection. We'll talk about those specifically in a moment. Those who follow my process are successful. Those who don't aren't. It's really that simple. And it's literally follow the process, use the tools, then get inside the support channels. So give me your perception prior to starting the process with your sales experience and then getting into the process.
Yeah. Well, so when we first spoke, I think I shared with you, I'm a bit of a skeptic at heart. It served me well and it's also hurt me at times, but it's because especially with something like this, I want to be thorough and make sure that it's something that makes sense to me, right? And after having a conversation with you, and then you asked my wife to join me, we got off the call and I kind of I couldn't really poke a hole in the program. And so that's where I'm like, all right, this makes sense. Like, I don't see why this will work. And sure enough, it did, right? A few months in. I'd say now, once I started the process, it's like anything else as far as sales go, in terms of you have to go do it and fumble over your talk track a few times. I think after doing that 3-4 times with a couple schools, I went back to one of your early client calls and just listened to, you went through like, here's the pitch, here's your 2-minute elevator pitch. And I think I just listened to that on a loop like 6-7 times as I was going to these schools. So that way I was basically just reiterating what you were saying. And then eventually I knew what the talk track was and could have it a little more organically. Once I got that down and kind of started to put the processes into place, it's just follow-up. Some folks who were chiming in on the dashboard, I saw their names. They were clients after I was, right? And they got their first location. And it just makes me more more competitive and get out there. So to anybody who is joining and doing this, I would tell you, like, it's schools sometimes are just slow. If they're not telling you no, then you're in it. So I would say just trust that process. It'll work out.
Yeah, I say it all the time, which is with schools specifically, no news is good news. They will tell you no if it's a no. So yeah, now talking about that, you got inside the program. The big parts of what we do is we vet your marketplace right away, right? I have got a data entry team full of data analysts, and then we have a fact-finding team that makes phone calls and they find out all the opportunity. So my team takes 2 weeks to do that, just specific to the vetting process. How did that go for you? Were you surprised by the results? Was it what we said it was going to be?
Yeah, it was nice being able to go in and speak to the principals or decision makers with some sort of background knowledge, right? I could reference a rough student count down, understand what some of the other, maybe the middle schools that were in the area. It just gave me some credibility being able to give a little bit of background information. I mean, I imagine it's a relatively time-consuming process to gather that data. So the fact that I didn't have to go do it myself was huge.
Yeah, there was a lot of data on there. A very densely populated marketplace. We didn't have to go far. Then we start to get into the launching of the process, which we call a launchpad build out, because at that point, then you start to watch some of the training videos, you learn about the magic phrase and what specifically that is. Then you get access at the location launch call to your 6-figure location brochure collection that are all customized. Talk to me about how the phrase worked and then the brochures.
The funny thing that I found was once I was able to find my way, know how to get in front of the decision maker, in front of the principal, put the brochure in their hands, and it just made sense. I love as I'm walking through, their eyes light up. The one guy just basically points to, he's like, this is genius, like this program. That was the fun part, is when you saw the decision maker starting to read through and the wheels starting to click and how it made sense. Yeah, and from there, the traction just started to keep rolling.
Let's talk about the magic phrase specifically. How effective was it for you?
And you're talking about
Yeah.
It worked. That was getting me at least into the school, into the main office. That's the first step. Get inside the building talking to somebody. Then once you're talking to them, work the magic to use that same phrase and get in front of decision makers. But I don't know how I would have gotten in front of them without using that technique.
Once they know that you're vending, which the phrase doesn't allow for that, then they're just going to point you to a business card and send us an email. You can set up an appointment, which doesn't work. Now, with that said, now with the brochures, you mentioned how effective were those for you? I know you've already mentioned them about their eyes light up and they thought that the program was genius, but talk to me about how useful they got you to this point, because they came back, correct?
Yeah, I laid off at this point the process of following up every 10 days. I started to space out just a little bit more. They told me that they want to do this. It's just not the time. So it's kind of that emotional intelligence type of feel, like, all right, just take a step back. And sure enough, like, I think it had been 3 weeks since my last point of contact, and she'd sent me an email and said, hey, all right, now's the time. Let's move forward.
Now, talk to me about the opposite of that. How do you think this would have went if you didn't have the phrase, you didn't have the brochures, you didn't have my mentorship or my team's support? Where do you think you'd be?
5 figures into the hole with some machines and locations that were on pace for a 5-year ROI, right? The other thing too is you see every other vending company, that even the schools that have these machines, they're all doing the same thing. And even the ones that when you have conversations and they're like, oh, we have some healthy options, and then you go check it out and you're like, that's not really healthy. And you can position that to them and get them to understand that baked Lay's, it's not healthy. It's not to our standards, right? And again, they appreciate that, because the positioning is that we're business owners. We want to make a profit. Number one, we're going to help the school raise funding, which is ever more important in today's climate, but also it's in the best interest of the students. We're trying to get the junk, the talkies, out of the hands of these students and get some, healthier options and alternatives in them. So there's really, when you present it to a school, and it doesn't matter who you're talking to, whether they're ready to move forward or not, the program makes sense, and that they can't argue with.
So you got your first 2 locations secured.
Yep.
One high school, 1,200 students and staff. One middle school, 850 students and staff. No vending machine competition at either school for student-facing machines. And then you're going to place 2 combo vending machines. So you're going to have 4 combo vending machines catering to about 2,000 total consumers. This should put you upwards of about, on the low end, $8,000 a month in revenue to as much as $10,000 to $12,000 a month in revenue. So you're going to be looking at somewhere in the range of 4,000, potentially, 3,500, let's call it on the low end of income, to as high as $5,000 or $6,000 a month in income, which is pretty awesome for your first 2 vending machine locations. Now, we'll come back to you after you're operational to confirm that, but how does that feel?
Feels good. I got into this to try to, like I said, long-term replace income, but in the short term, it's supplemented and be able to give my family a little more comfort. And so that sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah, 2 locations, 4 vending machines, will take you a collective 5 hours a week to run.
Yeah, I love it.
Is your wife pumped?
She's pumped. Yeah, when they reached back out, she was like, you're kidding me, because I keep her posted on all the schools and where the progress is. Yeah. She actually made the joke. She's like, sure enough, less follow-up, all of a sudden you got the outreach, like they told you you're in it.
Yeah.
She's pumped.
I love that, and I'm glad that your wife is pumped. I can remember towards the beginning of it, we had that conversation. Well, what is it I can do next? I said, well, no, sometimes we just got to let the brochures marinate. No news is good news. A lot of times it will come to you, and we don't have to really be all over them, because I've never been in medical device sales, but a lot of times you're going up against somebody else's piece of equipment where you've got to be on top of it, because they may choose that other piece of equipment, and you've got to talk about the values and the benefits benefits and the reasons, all that kind of stuff, right? Well, you don't have to do that here.
You don't have to push the value as much, because if you can present it one time, that it speaks for itself. And then it's a matter of them working out the other logistics.
And congratulations, you are the first client to secure a school district in the state of New Jersey.
How about it? All right.
Right? How cool is that? What's been consistent across the board, when we penetrate a school district for the first time in a state, what other New Jersey school districts are you in? Now you have real credibility, because obviously the brochures give you massive credibility to get into schools overall. The fact that, you can say things that we're serving over 125,000 students a day in all these school districts across the country. But now you can say we're contracted with this New Jersey school district, which is local credibility, which is massive.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. First school district in New Jersey. Sky's the limit at this point, literally, because there's probably, 500 other school districts in the state of New Jersey. And now we've got some local credibility. I'm excited to see where you take this. You're going right towards the path so many of my other clients have prior, which is being able to fire your boss one day.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for everything, Ryan.
You're welcome, man.